Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Sportsnet.ca digital panel. Today, we're talking everything NFL football, and we're joined by Jim Lang from Sportsnet 590 The Fan. We also have Jordan Heath-Rawlings from Sportsnet Magazine and Jeff Simmons from Sportsnet.ca. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Not a problem.
The countdown is officially on for the season to start. Everybody's done their fantasy drafts, and I want to know from you guys who you think the teams are that might surprise people this year.
I'm not sure how much of a surprise it's going to be, Casey, but I think the Texans of Houston Texans, I think, are ready to take the next step to be one of the great teams in the National Football League. I think Wade Phillips has all the arsenal and all the tools at his disposal to put a great defense together with J.J. Watt and Brooks Reed and players like that and Connor Barth. And I think a healthy Matt Schaub and Arian Foster and Andre Johnson, they have all the tools they need. So the Houston Texans, what they did in the playoffs last year was not a fluke. If they did not have a third-string quarterback, T.J. Yates, running the offense in a playoff game, they may have gone all the way to the championship game, and I expect them to go very, very far this year.
What about you, Jordan? Do you agree?
Yeah, the Texans look pretty good. We're putting together the NFL preview issue of the magazine right now, and one of the things we're going to talk about in there is our dark horse pick, which is the Atlanta Falcons. They've really improved in the offseason, not so much by free agent acquisitions, but just because they have some really good young players that are getting better. Julio Jones was one of the better rookie wide receivers last year, and he's looked fantastic in the preseason. Not only that, they have Michael Turner, who's sort of the old school plodding runner, and now they're going to mix it up a little with Jacquizz Rodgers, who is probably going to be the lightning to his thunder, the same way the Giants used to do with Jacobs and Bradshaw. So we really think that offense is ready to take another step. They've got a pretty solid defense. It's a young defense that's getting a little better. So we like them to improve from within, and we think that they could easily challenge the Saints for the division.
Jeff, I know you guys have been working on a lot of NFL season previews and power rankings for Sportsnet.ca. Do you agree with these guys?
Yeah, I like both their picks a lot, actually. But I'm going to stick in the NFC. I really like the Seattle Seahawks this year. Last year, they were a top 10 defense without any sort of pass rush. They've added Jason Jones in free agency. They added Bruce Irvin in the draft. They've upgraded their depth on offense. Robert Turbin can help out Marshawn Lynch. And the biggest thing is the quarterback. Russell Wilson outperformed Matt Flynn big time in the preseason. If he can play as good as he did, along with that running game and that defense, this team's ready to challenge San Francisco right away.
So on the topic of quarterbacks, there's been a lot of movement around the NFL in the offseason, and there's a lot of rookies starting this year. There's a noticeable difference probably. Do you think that the Denver Broncos are in a better position, or that the Indianapolis Colts are in a better position at quarterback this year?
I'm going to have to say the Denver Broncos for right here and now, just because of Peyton Manning. His ability to make computations and calculations and reads at the line of scrimmage is beyond reproach. He can see things other quarterbacks simply can't do, and he can make reads within 1.5, 2 seconds in the pocket other quarterbacks, with the exception maybe Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, cannot do. Now, if you ask me 5 years from now, to me it's Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck is a franchise quarterback. He is going to be to the Colts what Peyton Manning was in 1998 when they drafted him. So for right now in the 2012 season, it's Peyton Manning. But, if you're talking long term, no question Andrew Luck is he's the kind of player, quarterback that you build whole franchise around.
Yeah, no question. I definitely agree with Jim that Peyton's probably the better choice this year. I was just down in Denver working on a story for the magazine and got a chance to watch him against the 49ers. And it was the first time this preseason that he really looked like he was all the way back. And the 49ers have a really tough defense, and he carved them up. It wasn't in doubt. I think he was 10 of 12 passing for 2 touchdowns. He only played the first quarter. They had a 17-0 lead when he left. And when Peyton Manning is feeling healthy and he's in tune with his receivers, you can make a case that he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the game. So, Andrew Luck is great for the future, but there's no question this year. Peyton's the guy.
Do the Colts have hope with Andrew Luck running the team now?
I'll leave that to Jeff, but you'll never get an argument from me having Andrew Luck, because you can't do better in the future than Andrew Luck.
Absolutely. He's looked completely unbelievable in the preseason. He looks unfazed, which is very rare for a rookie quarterback. Last year, their roster looked horrible, and Andrew Luck gives them instant hope. Out of Stanford, he might be the most pro-ready quarterback since Manning, maybe even John Elway. And he can carve up defenses. He's smart from Stanford. He's ready to go.
Quarterback, obviously the most important, if not, one of the most important, if not the most important position in the game. What about running backs? I know there's a lot of emphasis put on them, and especially in our fantasy drafts, we're going after the running backs first. There seems to be a bit of a trend towards towards quarterbacks and receivers and away from running backs this year, I'm noticing. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a perfect example of that, with them saying that they're going to start Rashard Jennings this year.
Well, you have to. I mean, the National Football League has changed so much in the last 5 years. The paradigm shift is gone towards, if you can't pass the football, you can't win. You have to have a quarterback. You have to have at least one elite receiver and a tight end to complement him. Because right now, teams are passing the football to move the ball down the field, as opposed to 15 or 20 years ago where you would pound it on the ground and control the clock. Teams have the ability with spread offenses and West Coast offenses, Casey, to control the clock by passing the football, which is something you would never even attempt 15, 20 years ago. And if you look at a lot of the best teams in the NFL, Super Bowl contending teams the last few years, last year the Giants, fantastic passing game, okay running game. The Packers, mediocre running game, unbelievable passing game. That's the way of the future. The days of a running back building your team around him and expecting him in the Super Bowl, to me right now are a thing of the past. You have to have the prototypical stud quarterback and the receiver to complement him, or you just can't win.
I think the perfect example of that, too, is the Detroit Lions this year.
Bingo.
I mean, they're a team that they don't seem to have much of a running game. Their best running back, Javid Best, is out for at least 6 weeks, probably more. And they honestly don't seem to be that worried about it. They have Kevin Smith, they have Mikel LeSure, they have Cleveland Williams, who's kind of a Redskins cast-off. And it's not that big a problem for them because they rely on Calvin Johnson down the field, Titus Young and Nate Burleson coming over the middle. And actually, I've seen Jim Schwartz refer to their tight end, Brandon Pettigrew, as their running game. They like to complete short passes to him and trust him to get a few yards after the catch.
And that's what New England does with Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
They do the same thing with him as well, and that's become a de facto running back now in the NFL as your tight end.
Yeah.
As Jim mentioned earlier, the Giants were ranked last, I believe, in the league in rushing last year, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. Patriots, Packers, these teams don't run the football that well. They use the short passes to the slot receivers, which are taking over. As you send fancy drafts, a lot of these teams now, they split carries. There's not a lot of guys at the top who get the full load. So quarterbacks, receivers, these are the safe guys producing every single week.
Obviously, quarterbacks, at least in the Sportsnet offices, are what everybody is counting on this year. And on that topic, do you guys think that Tavares Jackson is going to be a valuable pickup for the Buffalo Bills?
He's some good insurance to have. And I mean, I was there in training camp in July. I was there in OTAs with Jeff in June. They've been spending all that time with Ryan Fitzpatrick not to have him give way to Tavares Jackson. Tavares Jackson's only there in case of dire emergency, then Ryan Fitzpatrick is hurt. As Jeff and I have seen firsthand, they have spent so much time and money building that offense around Ryan Fitzpatrick, gearing all the plays around his skill set, how he thinks out there in the field. It's all going to be about Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, Tavares Jackson has some decent skills to bring to the table if they need him, but in a perfect world, if the Buffalo Bills have their way and Chan Gailey and Buddy Nix, all Tavares Jackson does all year is stand on the sideline and run the scout team in practice because they're going to live and die with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Now, do you see any noticeable improvements with the Bills other than Tavares Jackson, who's pretty much just backup? I know you were at training camp, Jeff.
Well, the defensive line, especially the pass rush, is the biggest difference you'll see with the Bills this year. Last year, they struggled to get to the quarterback from the outside. They added Mario Williams, the most expensive free agent on the market. He's looked unbelievable so far. He's going to desperately upgrade that pass rush. Mark Anderson as well, who was one of the top Patriots pass rushers. He's going to complement Williams, which means he'll be in single blocks all year. It's going to be really effective for the Bills with those two interior rushers, too.
And we've seen in preseason already, the biggest benefactor to Mario Williams is Marcel Darius. Exactly. He's had a great preseason, a great training camp, and having that presence because they play side by side along the line. Opposing offensive linemen have a real dilemma because you're probably not going to block Mario Williams one-on-one in space, so the guard has to slide over to protect him. So Marcel Darius, at 320 pounds, extremely strong and quick, is finding himself one-on-one in many situations. There's not many guards in the league that can handle him one-on-one. David DeCastro tried it in the preseason with the Steelers. He got his leg bent back and he ripped his knee up. So that's one thing to watch out for the Bills is Mario Williams is going to add a lot just himself, but he's going to complement those guys in the front seven in such a way that they're going to be more productive.
And that's the one thing that a defensive line like that can really do for a football team. I mean, if you look at the Giants and the Lions, both teams with incredibly strong defensive lines, and it compensates a lot for weaknesses they might have in the secondary. And you don't have to have those elite cornerbacks and safeties if the opposing quarterback is always going to be flustered when he's releasing the football. It's not as hard to cover opposing receivers when they don't know when the ball is coming out.
And you don't have to blitz.
Yeah.
You can rush with 4, and in the NFL now, you need as many bodies back there as possible to cover those receivers because the quarterbacks are just too good.
So we're running out of time. Obviously, we could talk about this for hours, but before we leave, I want to ask you guys, who do you think the top fantasy quarterback is going to be this season?
Fantasy quarterbacks different than real quarterback. I'm going to go Cam Newton.
Cam Newton?
I was going to go with Cam Newton as well. Combination of rushing and passing.
Too good to pass up.
I still like Aaron Rodgers. He can throw the ball all day. He can run.
All right, fair enough. Well, now you know if you haven't had your fantasy drafts, you have the advice of some professionals here. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back with another Sportsnet.ca digital panel in no time.